Hello everyone, welcome back to the Midwest Stitches YouTube channel. My name is Danielle and this is my channel where I talk all about my crafting adventures. Welcome to 2026 everybody. I know it's 2 weeks in, it's January 14th, 2026, and I had some footage recorded and I was going to record earlier, but good grief, we have not had a sunny day in a while. Or like a full sunny day. Like it'll be sunny early in the morning and then it'll be super gray and cloudy and it's just dark and, you know, typical January kind of gloomy weather. I don't really mind it. It doesn't bother me the way it bothers other people, but it doesn't make for good recording, especially when right behind me are the windows I record in front of for the good light. So here we are. I've got my iced coffee today. Grab a drink or a snack or both, your knitting and crochet, and let's catch up because I have quite a few things to share with you today. So let's get into it. First of all, you can find me on Instagram at Midwest.Stitches or on Ravelry at Midwest Stitches. That's where you'll find all of my project pages for my knit and crochet projects. And you can also find me on my website, MidwestStitches.com. That's where you can find any Yarn Nerd merchandise or my hourglass dishcloth pattern, as well as a few project bags here and there that I post for sale. Okay, where should we get started? So I'm recording a video after this one, an intro video for my stash tour video kind of a thing. I'm still in my stash down journey, and this year it's even more, what's the word I'm looking for? More in the forefront. I'm committing to not buying any yarn this year. I also have told Adrian not to gift me any yarn either because just a little bit into the stash video, I'll talk more about this in that video. I go through the full tour and I'm going to kind of talk about what I have and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's gotten to the point of overwhelm. I know that's different for everyone. Some people, it does not bother them at all that they could have a library, if you will, of yarn, and that doesn't bother them at all. For me, I've reached the point where I've run out of room and little places and cubbies and whatever you want to call it to store the yarn. So that's how I know that, okay, it's time to really buckle down, use what I have, and kind of implement all of these ideas that I've brainstormed probably over the last 2 to 3 years of projects that I want to do, big, small, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm doing this year, and I know we're only 14 days in to the new year, but it's going well so far. Okay, let's start with the finished objects now that I kind of got that little spiel out of the way. I'll talk more about feelings and things like that in the actual stash tour video that I'm gonna put up after this one. First up, I'm gonna talk about my finished pairs of socks and a finished blanket to show you. So the first pair of socks that I finished just probably a couple days ago, maybe last weekend, I don't know, are these socks. These were my birthday cast on in December, and this is called 1980s Birthday, and it is by Granite State Yarns. It was, I believe it was January of last year's Yarn of the Month Club colorway. She doesn't obviously have this in her shop, but she does have a similar colorway, and it's called Mixed CD. I think the pink is a little bit more dark in that color, but it's kind of the same 80s vibe. And if you're new here, this is my shorty sock recipe that I use. I use the counts and everything from the vanilla sock on magic loop pattern from the Crazy Sock Lady. But I just do 8 rounds for the cuff and then 4 rounds for the leg before I do the heel flap and gusset. And I just follow everything else. Counts, toe pattern, all of that is from her pattern. It's just my favorite and my go-to, and it's very, very mindless for me to do that. Spam, phone call, political research. And there's my dog. First one for the new year. Okay. So those are the 1980 socks. That was one of my birthday cast-ons. I actually cast on 3, and I finished 2 out of the 3 so far. So here's the second one that I finished. This is, oh, I love these colors. Let me give you just a nice close-up. Aren't those gorgeous? So this yarn was gifted to me by Leah of Leah Loves to Knit. We did an advent swap this year, a DIY advent swap, and this was one of the main skeins, like full skeins that she gave me. And this is called Make Merry, like Merry Christmas, from Parcel Yarns. And I'd never heard of them before, and it's really gorgeous. Like this, if you look really close, obviously it has like pinks and reds and greens. It's got all the Christmas colors, but what I love the most about this color is the subtle green undertone. Like it's got kind of a, instead of like a cream, more of a cream or white base, it's more of a green, like a light green. So I love the way that it looks and that these turned out. Same recipe as the last one in pattern. Okay, the next kind of finished objects, I guess, that I want to talk about just before I get to the big one. So part of my goals, my stash goals for the new year, I have two kind of everyday goals. The first one is do one hexagon in my Hexagon flower blanket, my fingering weight one. I finished my DK one last year. So my goal is to do one hexagon a day. So basically it takes 7 hexagons to complete a flower. So basically every 7 days I would have a completed flower. And by that math, at the end of the year, if I have that much yarn, I would have 52 completed flowers to put into a blanket. I don't know that I'm going to put together the blanket by the end of the year. I have kind of a bin, if you will, of minis and leftovers that I want to make into flowers first. That's the first goal, is to make all of those into flowers and then kind of lay them out and see, okay, what does the size look like before I decide, is it time to put it together or is it, add more flowers? So that's kind of step one, is to get these particular flowers made with this yarn I already have picked out. So I have completed 2 flowers so far already this year. The first one I completed was this flower. And this yarn is from Stitchin' with Yarn. It was a Halloween sock set I knit a couple of years ago. That was the main skein, and these were minis. So I just used that for the center just to kind of make it a fun Halloween flower. And then the second one is also from Stitchin' with Yarn. It was the same sock set, but it is this pretty orange one. So we have 2 Halloween ones. And I have all of the details on my Ravelry project page for the patterns that I used, hook size, all that kind of stuff for that. Okay, so the next finished objects are some dishcloths. Oh, you can't even see all the colors. There's 3 of them. So that's my other goal this year, 1 segment on a dishcloth a day. So if you're not familiar, this is my hourglass dishcloth pattern. This is the 1 color version, and they're made up of 4 segments. And so my goal is to do 1 segment a day. So at the end of the 4th day, when I graft the pieces together, the end piece and the beginning piece, I have a dishcloth every 4 days. And I'm trying to use up my dishcloth yarn. And by my calculations, if I stick with this 1 segment a day goal, I should have all of my dishcloth yarn used up. Well, at least the dishy that I have. I have some fingering weight cotton that I'm going to do this pattern, but it might take me a little bit longer because I've never done a fingering weight version. But anyway, by my calculations, if I stick to that goal, I would have all of my dishcloth yarn used up by the end of July. So that would be awesome. I would have so many dishcloths because I have 2 of each color, and I have a few different colors, and then a bunch of the swan colorway, which is like an off-white. So we have this one. This is in a coral colorway called Conch. And then I have 2 of these, and this is the Kenai colorway. And I'll quickly show you the one that I'm currently working on, just because we're on the dishcloths. I am using this project bag. Dishcloth is my jam, or Dishcloth knitting. And this is a project bag I got from Back Porch Fiber Co. So the color that I'm currently working on, or I should say the dishcloth I'm currently working on, is in this purple colorway. And it is called, the color is called Mulberry. And I have 2 of this color. I still have 1 full skein of the conch colorway and 1 full skein of the canaille colorway. I also have, I don't know the name of the color, but it's kind of like a dark red. It's like a wine color, and then 2 brown colors. So my plan is to work through 1 ball of each color just to kind of mix it up and knit all of that up, and then go back and do the rest of them. Do the other skein in each. So just to kind of keep it fun and interesting and vary the colors. So I think out of each ball of yarn, I can get 2 full dishcloths and then almost a 3rd one. I think on one of these, I was on the last section and I had like this much left of the segment and the grafting to do. So I had to use a tiny, tiny bit of the second skein. So I think out of each ball of yarn, or each 2 balls of yarn, what is that, like almost 6? And then I have a bag that I'm putting the leftovers in that I know are not enough to complete like a segment or 2 segments or whatever. And so kind of at the end, I'm just gonna have this bag of the cotton scraps, and then I'll just make like some scrappy ones and go with that. Okay, so 1 more finished up. Actually, no. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to show you the final finished object, since we were talking about flowers and all that kind of stuff and kind of mixing the finished objects with the works in progress. I'll show you the flower that I'm currently working on. So here is the next flower that I'm working up. And this is also another Halloween colorway. This was, I think, Silly Monsters from Mandy's Makings. I made a pair of socks out of this. I added, I think there is a DK flower in my DK Hexi Flower Blanket, and now I have enough to do this flower for my fingering weight one. And by the time that is said and done, I don't know that I'll have any scraps left, but we'll see. If we do, I have a super small scrap bag that are like less than 5 grams. Ooh. And then the next flower, just to kind of show you what's next on the docket, I have these 2 colors that I think are less than 10 grams each. So my flowers take roughly the petals. Those take, I think, like 16 or 17 grams, and neither one of these met that, but together I can make a flower. So I'm just going to alternate the colors. And then I have minis and other scraps in a bigger bag to pick from there. And I'm using this bag, because obviously Hexagons, to kind of store the current flower that I'm working on. Okay, so the final work in progress that I have currently going is a pair of socks. I completed this one. This was out of the 3 pairs that I started for my birthday. So here's the first one finished. This is Swan City Yarns in the Under the Mistletoe colorway. And I have started the second one. I am working on the gusset decreases currently, and I will probably have that done by the end of the week, because that's kind of the only, besides the dishcloths and the flowers, those are kind of my only works in progress right now. I'm kind of working on a new project that I just started, but there's no kind of daily goal or rushing to work on it or anything like that. I'm just going with, you know, having fun with it and whatever else. And once I kind of have more to show on that project, I'll show you guys what it is and what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the last thing I have to show you for projects is this guy. This is my little squares knitted blanket. It is finished. I I have used this thing so much. I finished it in the wee hours of New Year's Day. I stayed up until like 2 in the morning, which I don't ever do, to finish the I-cord bind off. I didn't want to go to sleep and have to wake up and work on it for another day. At that point, I was, even working on the last strip, I was so done with this project. I wanted it done, and I just was really pushing it to get it done. It was pretty much the only thing I worked on for the last 2 weeks of December. That's why the socks aren't done. Those would have normally been done within that 2-week time frame. I could have easily gotten those 3 pairs of socks done because I had a bunch of time off of work. But I just wanted this blanket done. I didn't want to take it into the new year. So I finished it, and I considered it finished on the 31st because I hadn't gone to bed yet. So here it is. I'll stand up and show you what it looks like. But there's my I-cord my I-cord border. And I think I did a pretty decent job with that. That was actually my very first I-cord border that I've ever done. It's an applied I-cord. And I just followed a tutorial. You know, there's a ton out there. And for this, the color is Gray Matter from Breaking Yarn. That's what I used. And I did fingering weight held double because this blanket was all fingering weight held double. And I do want to say too, I don't have measurements for this blanket, but I will say I searched high and low everywhere to kind of figure out if there was a formula or somewhere that someone could tell me how much yarn an I-cord border would take, so I would know how much to use. And let me tell you, it does not take as much as you think. This whole border, and when I stand up I'll show you, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big blanket. It took me about 50 grams. It took me half a skein of yarn. I honestly thought it was going to take more, and it did not. So if that's something you've also been looking for, just kind of use that 1 skein of yarn, because I would say this is more than a lap size blanket. It's maybe not a twin, but like somewhere between a throw and a twin, something like that size. And it took half a skein of yarn. So I would say a full 100-gram skein of yarn, depending on if you're doing a DK border or a fingering border, should suffice for whatever project you're making. If you're making like a king size blanket, you might need 2. But you know, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna stand up and show you the finished blanket. Okay, here it is. It's obviously very stretchy. And there are my hands. Hopefully you can see all of it. It's huge. And I love it. So it's, if I turn it this way, it's touching my toes and it comes up to my chin. It is beautiful and I love it. It's my first true scrappy project. And this is the Little Squares Knitted Blanket pattern by Julie Harrison that is on Ravelry. It is a paid for pattern. I did make some changes. Those are noted on the project page. What else? Oh, the joining color, that is all Cascade Heritage. I want to say it's in the color Snow, but I don't know the number. But if you buy it on like Wool & Co., they have the name of the color and the number. So, but it is the color Snow. It's kind of an off-white. For each of my squares here, which are more like rectangles, these used about 5.5 grams of scraps. And then at the bottom, I won't explain why I did this. You can go back and watch videos from like a year ago because I started this in December of 2024, but these little squares at the bottom obviously take less than that. Anyway, this is DK fingering held double. I used 3.5 millimeter needles for this the whole way. And it is so warm and amazing. This is my first knit DK blanket. I've made crochet ones that are DK, and this just has a completely different feel. The crocheted ones are very dense, very warm too. but this just, I don't know. It's just the difference between crochet and knitting. They're both amazing. They're equally warm. But this is kind of like my own blanket, because most of these are like scraps from an advent or socks that I'd made, or, you know, other projects. That was mostly what these scraps came from. So this is definitely going to be mine and not Adrian's. He thought it was going to be for him, but it is not. Okay. I don't have anything else to show you. Oh, I will show you. You'll see this when you watch, if you watch the stash video, but I'm going to go over kind of the goals, grams, all that kind of stuff. But I will say that I've decided to take my leftovers, and I'll talk more about that in the video, but I'm kind of keeping my leftovers in a separate bag for the year. So there's from the socks, there's leftovers from the flowers, just to kind of keep it separate from how I'm sort of tracking the grams that I have in my stash other ways, so that I'm not like adding that to those bins. Kind of a complicated system, but that's just how my brain works. So there's that. I do have two things that I wanted to show you. I ordered these in December, and I got them in the new year. But I kind of went back and forth for probably 2 months on whether or not to buy these, because it was like that battle of, do I want to add them to my stash? Do I feel too overwhelmed to have them? But also I want them, and they're beautiful, and I want to make socks out of them. So at the end of December, I decided, okay, I've kind of went back and forth enough about this that I'm just going to purchase them and add them to my stash, and they will eventually be beautiful socks for me, and that's okay. So what I ordered are from Legacy Fiber Arts. They're micro sock sets. You know, I'm obsessed with them. I have so many. I could probably just do an entire year of just Legacy Fiber Arts yarn micro sock sets and not knit anything else for the entire year to use that stash up. But this is Rainbow Furicino. And this is from Wednesday Season 2. So I have basically every color they put out for Wednesday Season 1 inspired yarn. But these were the only two that kind of really spoke to me. So those are the ones that I bought. So Rainbow Furicino. And then we have Rotwood Cottage. And I thought this would be a good set for Valentine's Day. Not really Valentine's named color, but the colors would look beautiful for that. I'm not sure that I will knit them for Valentine's Day, but maybe. So I got those, and that is really all of the mail that I have coming in. I did have a gift certificate that I got last year for Kimber's Cozy Creations, and I did order some yarn with that. It was like, I think $50. So I ordered 2 skeins of yarn, but those are for a blanket that I want to make. So I only had to pay for shipping. Really quick, I wanted to show you, so when I talked about my goals for the year, I wanted to show you what I'm doing to keep track of that. And just to, it'll make it easy for myself to kind of calculate at the end of the year, so I don't have to keep them all in like a pile or hanging around when I want to total up how many I made, how many dishcloths, how many flowers I made, all that kind of stuff. So what I did was, I have a Hobonichi Weeks, this is the cover for it, planner. And what I did was I created myself a little tracker with all the months. I don't know how well you're going to see that, but that's what I made. And so it has all of the all of the months across days. And every time I complete a flower, I like put a check mark in the box of that day when I completed my 1 hexagon. And then when I complete a flower, I color that day in. So at the end of the month, I can total up my number of flowers, or at the end of the year, and that's just an easy way for me to count those. And then I also created one for my dishcloth knitting as well, where I'm doing my 1 segment a day. So same concept, the months, the days, and then I just check off each day that I do a segment, and then I color in when I completed one. So I thought that was just, for me and my very scattered brain sometimes, this is just an easy way for me to keep track of that. And then I don't have to think about how many did I do if I want to kind of know the true number. Because sometimes those things are fun just to keep track of and to know what you completed. Like, for example, for my stats for 2025, I think off the top of my head, I completed 5 hats, 4 blankets, and I added it up, but I can't remember. I think it was 38 pairs of socks. 12 of those went to Adrian for Christmas, and then 3 other pairs were gifts. So out of the 38, only about half were mine. And a lot of those were DK pairs, fingering held double. So if you're really looking to stash bust, fingering weight held double socks are the way to go. I used up a lot of full skeins. Like, I didn't have any leftovers of a bunch of those, and it was awesome. I fully intend to do that this year as well for gifts, because the people that I make gift socks for, they don't wear them outside of the house. So I don't really see the point in spending all the time making fingering weight socks, because those take a lot longer, and they only wear them in the winter when it's really cold. So DK socks are perfect. So it's kind of like a win-win-win all the way around. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching and coming back to my channel in this new year. Tell me what your goals are down below, if you have any or not. If you don't have any, that's perfectly fine too. You don't have to have any for your making. I just like to make goals for myself because it just helps me feel like I'm accomplishing what I want to accomplish. Yeah, so if you have any goals, put those down below. Otherwise, any comments you have, leave those down below as well. And I will see you guys next time. Take care and God bless you. Bye.